A worker bee is just over a centimeter long and weighs only about 60 milligrams. Nevertheless, she can fly with a load heavier than herself. The Honeybee. Chapter 13. Heat collected in the creases of my elbows and the soft places behind my knees. Lying on the top of sheets, I touched my eyelids. I cried so much they were puffed out and half shut. If it hadn't been for my eyelids, I might not have believed any of the things that had passed between me and August. I hadn't moved since August left, only lay there staring at the flat surface of the wall, at the array of night bugs that wander out and crawl around for fun after they think you're asleep. When I grew tired of watching them, I placed my arm across my eyes and told myself, "Sleep, Lily. Please, just go to sleep." But of course I couldn't. I sat up feeling like my body weighed 200 pounds. Like somebody had backed the cement truck up to the honey house, swung the pipe over to my chest, and started pouring. I hated feeling like a concrete block in the middle of the night. More than once, while staring at the wall, I thought of Our Lady. I wanted to talk to her, to say, where did I go from here? But when I'd seen her earlier, when August and I had first come in, she didn't look like she could be of service to anybody, bound up with all that chain around her. You want the one you're praying to at least to look capable. I dragged myself out of bed and went to see her anyway. I decided that even Mary did not need to be 100% capable all the time. The only thing I wanted was for her to understand. Somebody to let out a big sigh and say, "You poor thing, I know how you feel." Given a choice, I preferred someone to understand my situation, even though she was helpless to fix it, rather than the other way around. But that's just me. Right away I smelled the chain, its thick, rusty odor. I had the urge to unwrap her, but of course that would have ruined the whole reenactment August and the daughters had going. The red candle flickered at Mary's feet. I plopped onto the floor and sat cross-legged in front of her. Outside I heard wind high in the trees, a sing-song voice that carried me back to long ago times when I would wake up in the night to the same sound, and muddled with sleep and wanting would imagine it was my mother out there among the trees singing her bottomless love. Once I flew into T. Ray's room yelling she was outside my window. He said 3 words, "Holy crap, Lily." I hated when he was right. There had never been any voice in the wind. No mother out there singing, no bottomless love. The terrible thing, the really terrible thing, was the anger in me. It had started on the back porch when the story of my mother had collapsed, like the ground under my feet giving way. I didn't want to be angry, I told myself. You're not angry, you don't have any right to be angry. What you did to your mother is a lot worse than what she did to you. But you can't talk yourself out of anger. Either you are angry or you're not. The room was hot and still. In another moment, I would not be able to breathe for the anger filling me up. My lungs went out only so far before they struck against it and closed back in. I got to my feet and paced in the darkness. Behind me on the work table was half a dozen jars of Black Madonna honey waiting for Zach to deliver them somewhere in town. To Clayton's maybe, to the Frogman Stew General Store, the Amen Dollar, or Divine Dews, the Colored Beauty Parlor. How dare she? How dare she leave me? I was her child. I looked toward the window, wanting to smash the panes out of it. I wanted to throw something all the way to heaven and knock God clean off his throne. I picked up one of the honey jars and she hurled it hard as I could, and I hurled it as hard as I could. It missed Black Mary's head by inches and smashed against the back wall. I picked up another one and threw it. It crashed on the floor beside a stack of supers. I threw every last jar on the table until honey was splattered everywhere, flung like cake batter from electric beaters. I stood in a gooey room full of broken glass and I didn't care. My mother had left me. Who cared about honey on the walls? I grabbed a tin bucket next and, letting out a grunt, threw it with so much force it left a dent in the wall. My throwing arm was nearly worn out, but I picked up a tray of candle molds and flung that too. Then I stood still, watching the honey slide along the wall toward the floor. A trickle of bright blood wound down my left arm. I had no idea how it got in there. My heart beat wildly. I felt like I'd unzipped my skin and momentarily stepped out of it, leaving a crazy person in charge. The room turned like a carousel, and my stomach lighting up and down. I felt a need to touch the wall with both hands to make it still again. I walked back toward the table where the honey jars had been and braced my hands against it. I couldn't think what to do. I felt a powerful sadness, not because of what I'd done, as bad as that was, but because everything seemed emptied out. The feelings I'd had for her, the things I'd believed, All those stories about her I'd lived off of like they were food and water and air, because I was the girl she'd left behind. That's what it came down to. Looking around at the wreck I'd made, I wondered if someone in the pink house might have heard the honey jars hit the wall. I went to the window and stared across the gloom in the yard. The panes in August's bedroom window were dark. I felt my heart in my chest. It hurt so badly, like it had been stepped on. "How come you left me?" I whispered, watching my breath make a circle of fog on the glass. I stayed pressed against the window for a while, then went and cleared off a few pieces of glass from the floor in front of Our Lady. I lay down on my side, drawing my knees toward my chin. Above me, Black Mary was flecked with honey and seemed not at all surprised. I lay in the emptiness and the tiredness, with everything, even the hating, drained out. There was nothing left to do, no place to go, just right here, right now, where the truth was. I told myself not to get up in the night and walk across the floor unless I wanted to cut my feet to smithereens. Then I closed my eyes and began to piece together the dreams I wanted myself to have. How the little door in the Black Mary statue would open up just over her abdomen, and I would crawl inside to a hidden room. This was not all my imagination, as I had glimpsed an actual picture of this in August's book, a statue of Mary with a wide open door, and inside all these people tucked away in the secret world of consolation.